Boker Tov. Today's daf yomi is Kiddushin Lamed Beis, but we're going to start on Lamed Aleph Lamed Beis on 31b, three lines from the bottom. Gemara Boker Tov to Habs Shkoyach. We're on 31b, three lines from the bottom. All right. So this is one of the most interesting pages in the whole Talmud, and we could spend years on it. And we do spend years on it, but this is the daf yomi, so we're going to go quickly. So three lines to the bottom on 31b, the Talmud says, we know that you have to give honor to your father, kibud, and you also have to give mora. You have to give awe to your father and mother, obviously. Every time I say father, it's just because I'm speaking quickly, but it's father and mother here. So ezu mora, ezu kibud. What is the definition of fear and what's the definition of honor? Mora is lo omed b'mkomo should become you know how to stand in his place specifically where the father would stand there when he has a specific, let's say you daven in the yeshiva, he has a specific place where he stands, and then he has a specific place where he sits. You're not allowed to stand or sit in his place. Well, so says Tvarav, you're not allowed to contradict his words. V'lo machrio, and you're also, let's Rashi says what machrio means. If when there's a dispute in halacha between his father and a chacham, a different chacham, he can't say, I agree with the other person. And meaning to say, but the tourist goes even further, even to say, I agree with him. That's also not appropriate. That's what the Torah writes in the name of the Ramah, Rameir Halevi Abulafia. And of course, you can't say you can't contradict him because that's soser. That's the previous word. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. But rather, even to say, I agree with him. That's what the Torah says. What is the definition of kibud? Malchil mashke, that if he eats food or drinks liquid, that you have to make sure that your parents have food to eat and liquid to drink. Malbash, he has to clothe his parents in mechasa and make sure that they're covered properly. Malchnes emotzi, and malchnes emotzi means that he has to be involved in them. And Rambam writes in his Pirush HaMishnayos that all these things are just examples. The son has to make sure that his parents are treated in a dignified manner, or the door too. The Bible, so Gemara asked a fundamental question, top of 32a. Me shall me. So who has to pay for this? Meaning to say, does the son have to pay from his own assets or from the parents? So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mishal Ben, that it comes from the son's money. Which Rabbi Nassim Barushaya says Mishal Av, it comes from the parents, the father's money. So earlier, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amr Lal Avrei, the Rabbi Yirmiyah command Amr Mishal Av. He said it comes from the father's money. So let's say the father has no money, and we already saw that the son has to pay for it. And if the son has no money to pay for the father, then he has to be choser al psachim. He has to go begging to make sure that his parents are provided for. Meisvei, but the Gemara says, how can we say that it comes from the father's money? But it states in the Brisa, you have to honor your father and mother and honor God from your wealth. Just like when it comes to honoring God, you have to spend your own money. Also here, if you're saying it's coming from the father's money, might not call me. It's not as he's not losing any money. So why is this an issue? So the Gemara explains, even though he's not spending his own money, but he has to take off work. He has to attend to his parents. That means he can't go to work that day, and that's a requirement. So now the Gemara is still trying to answer this question. Tashma, let's say you have Shnei Achim, two brothers, Shnei Shutfin. So the Gemara is going to try and prove this issue of does it come from the father's money or from the child's money. Let's say you have two brothers or two partners, a Avu Beno, a father, a son, a Rabu Talmido, student and his Rebbe, Podin Zelazeh, Meiser Sheni. Then they can redeem each other's Meiser Sheni, meaning to say, she says that without paying the extra fifth, even though these are dependents, we would call them on our tax returns, these are dependents. There's a special halacha that if you have the secondary tithe and you want to take it to Jerusalem to eat it, if you're redeeming your own fruit onto money, then you have to pay an extra fifth. But if you're redeeming all these other categories, even though they're very close to you, you don't have to pay the extra fifth. That's not the proof yet. And also, you can feed each other the meiser ani, that there's a tithe in the third and the sixth year, and you have to give the money to the poor. So let's say the son has some money to give to the poor, and his father is poor. Then he says he's allowed to give him. And even though he would have to get, if he didn't have the meiser ani, he'd have to give him his own food. Nevertheless, he can feed him the meiser ani. He could give him the charity for the poor. Mi'amris Mishal Ben, if you're saying that the son has to pay from his own money, he's paying his debt, Mishal Aniyim, from the money from the poor, because he has to give his money to the father. So he's taking the money from the poor and giving it to his father. So he should pay for it. It's his debt. Gemara says, no, we're not talking about the money that the son is obligated to give to his father. That he has to give from his own money. But the extra money that his father wants, the father wants extra money. You just have to give your father an average type. But his father wants more food, extras, then you can give him from the meiser ani. So the Gemara says, well, if that's the case, that which Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda said, let a curse come upon the person who's giving his father the tithe for the poor. If this price is just referring to the extras, he's giving his father regular money. It's just the extras that he's taking from the charity funds. Might have kamina, but if it's for the extra, well, he fulfilled his obligation. So why is it we're saying he's going to be cursed? Where it says nevertheless, it's still considered a very bad thing and disrespectful thing for the son to give his father the money, any money whatsoever, from the meiser ani, even though he already gave him the money to be a beinonis in an average place. The extra is it's still going to be considered zila bemelsa. So the Gemara again tries to prove this question. Excuse me for 1 second. Does the money come from the rich, from the father, from the son? So the Gemara is going to try and prove this from the following. The Gemara is trying to prove this from the following brisa. So what does the brisa say? Tashma shalos Rabbi Eliezer. Adhechon kibbut avayim. They asked Rabbi Eliezer, what's the extent to which a person has to honor his father and his mother? So Rabbi Eliezer's response was, Vim Amar lahem. He responded, Kadesha Yito Arnakiv Yisrakenol Yam B'fanav. So much so that if he takes the wallet and he throws it into the sea in front of him, and the son doesn't get upset. So the Gemara says, if you want to say that it refers to that the money comes from the father, so therefore losing money, it's only coming from the father. So if that's the case, this wallet that Rabbi Eliezer is referring to, it's not the son's wallet, it's the father's wallet. And so therefore, why would the son get upset if the father takes his own wallet and throws it into the sea? And Gemara says, yeah, well, I'll tell you why he gets upset. But Royal Yorsho, you don't want to lose your money. The son thinks he's going to inherit that. I mean, sees his father throwing away his money that he's about to inherit. Of course, he's going to be upset. So this was like the case of Rabba, the son of Rav Huna, that Rav Huna wanted to test his son. So he tore the silk garments in front of him. He tore his own garment in front of and Rav Huna tore the garments of himself in front of his son Rabba. Why? He said, Amar Ezel Echsi Rasachi Lo Rasach. I want to see if he's going to get upset or not. So the Gemara says, so you see, he was testing him, and why would he get upset? Because he was the father was destroying money that Rabba thought he was going to inherit. The Gemara says, but wait 1 second, how could Rav Huna do that? Maybe he would get upset. And then Rav Huna was violating Lifnei Iver, he's causing his son to get upset. That's a violation from the Torah. You're not allowed to do something that causes somebody else to sin. The Gemara says the Machol. I know the Rav Huna waived the rights to his honor. He waived it. The Gemara says the Machol. So the Machol Yakre. The Gemara, he waived the rights to his honor. The Gemara says, well, but again, how can he destroy a garment? Isn't that a violation of the Torah? You know how to destroy something for no reason? The Gemara says the Avale Pumbaya. No, he did it on the seam, so he wasn't destroying it, and so therefore he didn't cost it any value. Baltashos means he cost some value, so he wasn't costing any value. The Gemara says, "Well, then it's Hadra Kushil Adukta." Well, that maybe that's why he didn't get upset in the first place. The Gemara says, "No, the Avale B'Shatz Ritzcha." He did it when the guy was in a bad mood. He did it when someone's in a bad mood, so he's going to get upset over anything, even something insignificant, and that's the reason. That's the reason why he did it that way. So the Gemara says, "Ma'asni Rabbi Yechesko." So we're going to learn another halacha about kibbud avayim. So Rabbi Cheskel taught a teaching to Rami Beret, to Rami his son. And so in this brayso, what does it say? Hanisrafim bin iskalim. So the nisrafim are the people who are ready to be killed by the bezdin in the din of sreifa. And then there's an iskalim, that those are the people who are ready to be killed by the court in the din of skila, stoning. So the sreifa, the two jail cells next to each other. One is the people burnt, and one is the people to be stoned. So, and then they got mixed up together. So Rabbi Shimon Omer Yadunu Skila. Rabbi Shimon says, we'll give them all stoning. Why? Shasreifa Chamura, because the burning one is more severe, and so we'll give everybody the lesser penalty because we don't want somebody who's supposed to get the lesser penalty to get the more severe penalty. So Amalei Rabbi Yehuda Berei. So Rabbi Yehuda, his son, turns to his father, Rabbi Cheskel, and he says to him, Abba Loti Saniach. He says, Father, you're teaching it wrong. Ma'ir Yisreifa Chamura. Why do you have to say that it's because the people who are being burnt are more severe, and that's why we give everybody stoning? Typically, I'll give you another reason why you're supposed to give them stoning. Deruba niskam, because it's the nisrafim who are mixed in with the niskam. So the stoning are the majority. That's the reason why they're supposed to be burned, not because that sreifa is more severe. So Rami, his son, says, this is how you need to teach it. If the people who are stoned or mixed up with the people who are burned, you still have to give everybody the stoning. Amalei. So Rabbi Cheskel says, what's the next clause? Yadunu b'sreifa, give them all sreifa, shaskila chamura, because stoning is more severe. Ma'ir yadaskila chamura. If you're correct, why would it be that stoning is more severe? Typically, deruba nisrafinu. You should learn out that they're supposed to get. You're supposed to get burning because that's the majority. So he says no. Rav Yehuda says Hasam Rabbanan, the Karmelei Rabbi Shimon. No, they're the Rabbanan were the ones saying to Rabbi Shimon, the Kamers Sreifa Chamura. You said Sreifa Chamura, and we say no. Stoning is actually more Chamura than burning. But anyway, this whole give and take, this back and forth. So Shmuel says to Rabbi Yehuda, so who was speaking to his father, Rabbi Cheskel. So Shmuel says to Rabbi Yehuda, Shina. How are you talking to your father? Titania, we only have a brayse that says overall different Torah. If your father is violating Torah, don't say to your father, Abba varta different Torah. Don't say, Father, you violated Torah. Abba kach kosev Torah. You say to your father, this is what it's written in the Torah. The Gemara understands that he says this in a disrespectful manner. Kach kosev Torah. It's Yuri coming Saturday. Well, then you're also harassing him. Ela omerlo Abba. Mikra kosev Torah kach. Say to him, Father, there's a verse that's written in the Torah like this. I mean to say it in a neutral manner so that the father can understand on his own what the proper halacha is. Elazar ben Masya taught that it says, if Abba Omer Ashkeni Mayim, let's say your father says to please bring me some water, mitzvah asos, and you have a mitzvah that you need to do, maniach ani kavod Abba v'oses a mitzvah. Then you don't honor your father and do the mitzvah. Shani v'Abba chayavim b'mitzvah, because both me and my father are up to do the mitzvah. But Isi ben Yehuda says, Im efshar asos mitzvah, Im efshar mitzvah liasos l'idei acherim tiyas l'idei acherim. If the mitzvah can be done by somebody else, then you do the mitzvah by others. V'yelachu b'kibud aviv, and he should go and honor his father. Amar Mas na'alacha k'Isi ben Yehuda. The law is like Isi ben Yehuda. Amar Yitzchak bar Shila, Amar Mas, Amar Chisda. If the father waives his rights, his honor, then he's allowed to waive his rights. But if the Rebbe waives his rights, his honor, we don't waive it. Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef says even a Rebbe can waive his honor. Shenemar, as it states in the pasuk, Hashem walked before the Jewish people in a cloud of glory. So if God is in his rights, God is the one who's like tending to the Jewish people, certainly a rabbi could do it. So Amar Rava, Hachi Ash is not the same thing. Also, my Kadosh Baruch Hu, Alma Dilahu, Vitor Dilehu. There's God, it's his world and his Torah. He could waive his own honor, but here in this case on the top of 32b, is it the Rebbe's Torah that he could just waive his honor? It's not the Rebbe's Torah. The Torah is not because of him. The Torah is because of the honor is not because of him. The honor is because of the Torah. The Rebbe can't waive his rights. He can't waive the right of the Torah. That Torah belongs to God. So Hadar Amarava in. Rava says, yes, the Torah delay, it's his Torah, because it says with Torah also Yega Yom V'Layla. It says with his Torah, he should be immersed day and night. It says, if you want the Torah of Hashem, and then it becomes his Torah. So it is his Torah, so the Rebbe can waive his rights. Mara says, is it really the case that a Rebbe can waive his rights? But Rava, Mashki Be'alula Debrei. Rava was pouring the wine out at his son's party. And then when he did this, Vidale Kasa Rav Papa Rafuna, and he lifted up a cup of wine for Rav Papa Rafuna, Braid Rav Yoshua. V'kamu Mikmain, they got up in front of him. Why did they get up in front of him? Because they said, listen, even though he's pouring the wine for me, we recognize he's our Rebbe and we can't let him waive his rights. But then what happened? He was pouring the wine for Rav Mari, Rav Pinchas, Braid, Rav Listavol, Kamu Mikmei. They didn't get up in front of him. Ikbid. So he got very upset. Rava got very upset, and he said, "V'amar Hanu Rabbanan, V'Hanu Rabbanan, Hanu Rabbanan, Rabbanan, V'Hanu Rabbanan, Lav Rabbanan." He means to say, "Yurchach Rashi says." He says it in a lashon tema as a shock. He says, "Yurchachamim," and you didn't stand before me, and your friends did. You think they're not rabbis? Meaning to say that I can't waive my rights. I'm acting like this, but you have to give me honor still, nonetheless. And furthermore, Mesura Papa, one time One time Rav Papa was pouring wine at his son's wedding. And he was pouring wine for Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rav Yehuda, and Rav Yitzchak didn't get up. And Rav Papa got upset. So we see from here that they should have shown honor. That why he was upset that they didn't show him any honor. So the Gemara says, no, they didn't have to show him honor, but they didn't. He was able to waive his honor. They didn't have to show him complete honor. They should have shown him something, a little bit of honor, even if they don't have to show him the complete honor. Since Rabashi, I feel around the Amar Arab Shemachol al Kvodo Machol, even according to one who says that a Rebbe can waive his honor. Excuse me, a Nasi Shemachol al Kvodo and Kvodo Machol. The Nasi is the prince of the community. He can't waive his honor. Gemara challenges this. Is this really the case? Meisvei Ma'aseh Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Tzadok, Shayim Nesubim, Beis Mishteh, and no Rabbi Gamliel. And there one time, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yeshua, and Rabbi Tzadok were once sitting at the party of Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Gamliel was a Nasi. But Rabbi Gamliel, Omedu Mashko, Rabbi Gamliel was serving them. Nasa and Koso Rabbi Elazar, Vonato. He didn't take the cup from him. Nasa Rabbi Yeshua, but Kidlo. Rabbi Yeshua took the one from Rabbi Elazar, from Rabbi Gamliel. Meaning Rabbi Gamliel was a Nasi. Rabbi Yeshua took it, and Rabbi Elazar rebuked him. So, by the way, remember the Gemara in Brachos where Rabbi Gamliel was deposed because he embarrassed Rabbi Yeshua, and then Rabbi Gamliel had to go and ask Rabbi Yeshua for Mechila. And that's a whole other story, but you have to read this story in that context. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Elazar turned to Rabbi Yeshua. He says, Maza Yeshua, Anu Yoshvin, Rabbi Gamliel, Omedu Mashko, you're allowed to sit here while Rabbi Gamliel is serving us. He's a Nasi. So Rabbi Yeshua says, yes, we can. Remember, Yeshua rebuked Rabbi Gamliel. So this must have been before that, because he says, or maybe it was after. He said, so Rabbi Yeshua said, Matzinun Gadol Mimenu Shimesh, Avram Gadol Shimesh. We saw somebody who was greater than Rabbi Gamliel who served. And who was that? Avram Avinu. He was the Gadol Adorah. He was the greatest of the generation. Because of Babu made Aleim, and he served those angels who came to visit him, or those three men. And below, maybe you want to say, they came to him and they looked like angels, and that's why he served them. They appeared to him like Arabs, and so therefore, and he served them. And Rabbi Omeid Umashka Aleinu, and we're not going to allow Rabbi Gamliel to serve us. Avram Avinu served, so we can for sure allow Rabbi Gamliel to serve us. So therefore, he says even a nasi could waive his honor. So the Gemara says, "Amrolam Rabbi Tzadok an matem matem manichem kvodo shamakim matem otzkim covered up rios." So Rabbi Tzadok says, I'll bring you another source. He says, how long are you going to abandon the honor of God and engage in the honor of people? Meaning to say, why are you bringing a proof from Abraham, he's somebody who God created? You could bring a proof from God himself. Shakadosh Baruch Hu, what does God do? Meishiv ruach, ruchos and God makes the wind blow, lifts up the clouds, morin matar, he causes the rain to fall, matzmiach adam, causes the earth to flourish, and he sets the table for everyone. And we're not going to allow Rabbi Gamliel to serve us. So, of course, a Nazi can waive his honor. If you want to teach something, this is what you should teach. Even according to the one who says that a Nazi can waive his honor, everybody says a king cannot waive their honor. As it says, Som tasim alecha melech, you should place a king upon yourself. The king's awe has to be upon you at all times. And so therefore we see from here that a king cannot waive his honor. Now the Gemara has a very, very interesting discussion. It says in the pasuk, you must rise before an elder, and then you must glorify the face of the elder. You shall fear God. It's from Parshas Kiddushin. So the Gemara asks the question, says the Bride, you need to rise before an elder. What if he's a Zakin Ashmai? What's an Ashmai? What's a Zakin Ashmai? So let's look at the Rashi. Rashi says the following. Asham, he's a sinner. Rasha v'am aretz, he's wicked, and he's an am aretz. That's how Rashi says it. That Rashi says that Zakin Ashmai is the wicked one. Some say it's a neutral term. He's just not wicked, but he's not good. Or he's just ignorant. But we'll go with Rashi's explanation. You might think you have to rise before a person who's elderly, who's wicked. Says the verse Zakein. Main Zakein el Chacham. The word Zakein means wise, as it says. Esvoi Shiva Mishmi Ziknei Israel. Moshe says, gather me 70 elders from Israel. That means scholars. Rav Yossi Aglili says, Ein Zakein el Misha Kana Chachma. Rav Yossi Aglili says, Zakein is the one who's acquired wisdom. It says Hashem Kanani Reishis Darko, as it says in the pasuk in Mishlei, Hashem has acquired me the beginning of his path. Kedem Mifalav Me'az. So means say Yachol Yamod Mipanav Mimakom Rachok. I might think that if this older man is coming from far away, you have to stand up. Talmomar Takum Vadarta. You stand up and you pray and you give him glory. When do you have to stand up? Only if it's a place of hidur, a place of glorifying him. But if he's far away, you won't see it. I might think you have to pay him money to the elderly man. Stand up and give him glory. It's just like costs nothing for you to stand up. Also, hidur shouldn't cost you any money. I might think even if you're in the bath, you have to stand up for him. Stand up and give him praise. I always say to stand up in a place where there's beauty, but in a bathroom there's no beauty. I might think, well, if you see the elderly man coming, just close your eyes. Make believe you don't see him. Stand up and give him awe. But that means davar masar l'leiv. In the end, you shall fear God. It's something that only Hashem knows. You shall fear God. Means God knows the truth. How do we know that the elderly person has a responsibility to make sure that he doesn't go out of his way to make you work hard so that you could stand up and give him honor? So the verse Zaken b'Yoresa, meaning to say Hashem knows the truth. But so till now we've seen that you don't have to get up for an older man who's wicked. But Isi ben Yehuda says, and this is the second time we have Isi ben Yehuda on our daf. We have him on the first page, that he says that that if the mitzvah can be done by others, let the other people do the mitzvah when you honor your father and mother. Now Isi Ben Yehuda teaches us what does it mean? Ne seva takum afilu kol seva b'mashma. Any older man, not just if he's even a zakin hashma, even if he's wicked, you should stand up and honor him. And Rabbi Yossi, so the Gemara says Rabbi Yossi Gluli ayin Tanakama. Rabbi Yossi Gluli is the Tanakama. The Gemara says no. The difference between them, yanik v'chacham. If he's smart, but he's young. Tanakama savar yanik v'chacham. He says you don't do it because he says yanik v'chacham. That if he's wise but he's young, you don't have to honor him. Yanik v'chacham, meaning to say that you don't do it if he's young and if he's wise. Whereas Rabbi Yossi Aglui Savar Afil Yanak V'chacham, even if he's young and wise. But we're going to see that part tomorrow. But who's the halacha like? The halacha is like Isi Bar Yehuda. The Shulchan Aruch says we have to honor this person. The Gemara says explicitly on Lam Gimel that the law is like Isi Bar Yehuda. But what's the age where you need to stand up for somebody? So there, the Shulchan Aruch says 70 years old, because it says in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos 70 years old for seva. Seva is called that. So when somebody's 70, you're supposed to give that person honor, even if they're wicked. But if they're especially wicked, you're not required to. Like, you can use your imaginations. But the point is, it means here somebody who's like just, you don't know that they've accomplished so much. But if they're really, 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 really wicked, then it's a different story. All right, we'll stop the recording here.